All right, guys, I want to talk about probably the most important topic to your business right now, dealing with inflation. Not a new topic. We were talking to it prior to 2022, all the way through the year, but it doesn't look like it's going away. And at this point, virtually every business is being impacted by inflation. Banks don't want to lend, interest rates are going up, costs continue to rise, and still there is no end in sight. So I'm going to give you 5 things that your business should do or consider doing. And then I'm going to throw in one bonus thing that most businesses mess up to try to deal with inflation. So number 1, raise your prices. This might seem like the most intuitive, the most obvious, but it is the number 1 biggest mistake that I see businesses make in regard to inflation. Big businesses, when their costs go up, they raise prices. We have clients that are small, we have clients that are big, and big businesses, veterans, know that when costs go up, they increase their prices. Small businesses, the ones that have no business shouldering additional costs, are the slowest to raise their prices, and in the end, they end up shouldering those cost increases for the entire supply chain because they don't want to raise their prices. Don't be the inflation hero, raise your prices. Number 2, automate. There are some very simple things out there that can be automated. We're talking about low-hanging fruit. We're not talking about taking a Tesla and putting it in a spaceship and flying it to the moon. There are tons of programmers out there. There are entry-level programmers that are very well equipped to come into your business and automate some repetitive tasks. We're talking about anything from inventory management to order processing, or anything that really requires redundant, successive keystrokes over time. Programmers can reduce your costs by automating those through some very simple scripts that can be run on your computer or the computers in your business. Number 3, protect your capital. As inflation continues to rise, for those of you that have some money in the bank, whether that is loan money or investment money or your own money that you've put into the business, you can kind of think of that money like an ice sculpture set out in the sun. It's melting and it's going to continue to melt. So do something to protect that capital for the next year or two. You can think of that like long-term high yield accounts, like what we see the elderly do. They invest in annuities and things like that don't eat away at the principal and have a high yield interest rate. There are other high interest bearing accounts, and there are also real assets. Consider buying your building, buying excess space, racking equipment, things like that. But if you leave your money sitting in the bank, it is being eroded over time. Number 4, acquire strategically. Now, this one kind of relates to protecting your capital. If prices continue to rise, and a lot of the things that we buy over and over that we can anticipate buying into the near and midterm future are going to continue to rise, then we can double down on those items. We can protect our capital, and we can protect against rising costs. So again, things like racking, inventory, packaging, real equipment, real estate, those things we can go a little bit deeper. We can invest a little bit further out in the future to both protect our capital and to acquire at lower prices in the present than we expect to pay in the future. Number 5, hire strategically. We've done this a couple of times in my business, but most notably COVID, when people are inexpensive, it usually means there are few jobs. Fewer companies are hiring. We went out in COVID and we picked up people at a discount. Now, if that sounds selfish, if that sounds like, we're taking advantage of people, these are people that need to work. There were people during COVID that came out of college, their businesses were shut down, and they're very talented, and they couldn't find work. So we went out and hired those people. Now, did we give them raises when the job market returned to normal? Of course we did. Okay, and we're going to do the same thing now. So right now, as you see tech companies like Wayfair and Amazon and Google and Facebook and all of these Meta, all of these different companies begin to downsize and trim jobs, we're picking them up. We're hiring developers. We're hiring ad managers. We're hiring skilled human capital that need work. We're bringing them into the fold. We're using them wisely, and we'll continue to invest in their future, just like they're investing into the company. All right, just gave you 5 things that you can do to protect your company or your business against inflation. I'm going to give you one bonus point that we see businesses messing up time and time again. As businesses attempt to cut costs, they tend to cut the things that drive sales. Businesses tend to cut advertising. They tend to cut selling expense. Bad idea. You should be cutting costs when things get tough, but don't cut the things that drive sales. When things get tough, there is nothing you need more than sales. I'll give you a very quick analogy. When I was in the Marine Corps, we would spend a lot of time in rotary wing assets, aka helicopters, and I don't know why I'm not a pilot, but on occasion you'd hit a pocket and they would rapidly lose altitude. It's kind of scary the first couple of times it happens to you, but imagine if that happened and the pilot responded to that emergency by cutting the engine. It would never happen. What does the pilot do? He pulls on the throttle, he gives it more fuel, and basically gives it more gas, right? He throttles down harder. That's what you need to do in your business. Cut costs where you can cut costs, but drive into the things that create sales. Drive into your advertising, drive into your selling expense, whether it's a sales funnel or internal, external sales or whatever. All right, guys, those 5 things you at least need to consider. That one bonus thing that businesses mess up, you want to make sure that you're not doing in your business. If you like the video, go ahead and subscribe, please, so we can bring you more content. Give us a thumbs up. Let me know if you disagree with one of those or if you'd agree with all of them or one of them in particular. And go ahead and weigh in, give us some advice. I like to learn from our viewers as well. All right, guys, see you in the next one.